For thousands of years, we've celebrated ancient Egypt as one of the first and greatest civilizations in history. We see its monumental architecture, advanced mathematics, and deep spiritual philosophy as a starting point for human greatness. But what if Egypt wasn't the beginning? What if it was the heir to a forgotten civilization, one that thrived long before the pharaohs ever walked the Nile? As archaeologists dig deeper and scientists re-examine ancient myths, this profound question is changing how we see the past. The story of ancient Egypt has always had a major puzzle right at the beginning. Around 3100 BCE, a complex culture seems to appear out of nowhere. Think about it. Societies don't just leap from small tribal groups to master architects overnight, capable of building massive stone structures with perfect astronomical alignments. Yet, in the archaeological record, that's exactly what it looks like. Egypt's early dynastic period arrives almost fully formed, as if its founders inherited a wealth of knowledge they didn't have to invent. This mystery only deepens when we look at the Sphinx and the earliest pyramids. Geologists studying the enclosure around the Sphinx have found evidence of heavy water erosion. This doesn't match the dry desert climate of dynastic Egypt. Instead, it points to a much older time, thousands of years earlier, when the Sahara was a lush, green savanna. If this is true, the Sphinx isn't just older than the pharaohs, it's older than any known civilization on Earth. Then there are the pyramids themselves. You'd expect the technology to get better over time, right? But in Egypt, we see the opposite. The earliest pyramids at Giza show a level of engineering precision that was never matched by the later ones. The stones are cut and fitted with a mastery that defies explanation for a supposedly new civilization. It's as if the first builders had a blueprint from a far more advanced source, a legacy that later Egyptians tried to copy but never fully understood. This idea of a lost parent civilization isn't just limited to Egypt. In modern-day Turkey, there's a site called Göbekli Tepe. It's a massive complex of carved megalithic pillars, built more than 7,000 years before the first Egyptian pyramid. Its discovery shattered our timeline of history. It proved that highly organized societies with symbolic art and monumental architecture existed long before we thought possible. Even before widespread farming, if a culture this sophisticated existed at the end of the last ice age, who's to say others didn't? Perhaps one of them was the source of Egypt's sudden brilliance. When we zoom out and look at ancient sites across the globe, a fascinating pattern emerges. From Peru to Mesopotamia, we find striking similarities: massive, cyclopean stonework, precise astronomical alignments, and shared symbolic patterns. These cultures were separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, so how could they be so similar? It suggests they might have all drawn from a common source, an advanced global civilization that flourished before the great floods and climate shifts that ended the Ice Age. This culture could have spread its knowledge across the world, leaving behind fragments of its legacy for later societies to find. In Egypt, this inheritance might be the key to its sudden cultural explosion. Ancient Egyptian texts themselves speak of a first time, an earlier golden age ruled by godlike beings they called the Shemsuhor, or the followers of Horus. Mainstream scholars dismiss these stories as pure myth, but these accounts consistently describe a long period of rule, thousands of years before the first pharaohs. Could these be distorted memories of real ancestors, the survivors of a lost civilization, whose wisdom shaped the Nile Valley? The origins of Egypt's oldest religious systems, centered on gods like Osiris, also seem to predate the nation-state itself, hinting at spiritual traditions inherited from a much more ancient past. Another powerful piece of evidence lies in the pattern of sudden cultural emergence worldwide. It's not just Egypt. All over the world, societies seem to spring into existence with advanced knowledge already in place. Writing systems, astronomical calendars, sophisticated spiritual beliefs, and complex engineering appear fully developed, right from the start. In Egypt, the earliest hieroglyphs are already incredibly complex, showing no signs of a slow, gradual evolution. The same is true for their early medicine and mathematics. This directly challenges the idea that civilization grows slowly and linearly. Instead, It points to a transmission of knowledge from an older, forgotten source. A truly mind-bending clue is the uniformity of sacred geometry found in ancient cultures across the planet. Ratios like the golden mean, and geometric patterns like the flower of life, show up in Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and even the pre-Columbian Americas. This widespread use of the same complex principles suggests that these ancient societies were either communicating globally or, more likely, they all inherited their knowledge from a common ancestor. This ancestor civilization may have thrived along the world's coastlines before the end of the Ice Age, when melting glaciers caused sea levels to rise dramatically. Today, modern underwater archaeology is starting to reveal what was lost. Off the coast of India, in the Gulf of Cambay, divers have found submerged megalithic structures that may be far older than any known city. Similar finds have been documented near Malta and Japan, including the famous Yonaguni Monument. These discoveries prove that complex societies existed in a much earlier era, their coastal cities now swallowed by the sea. If such a civilization existed, its survivors would have migrated inland, carrying fragments of their advanced knowledge to new regions, including the Nile Valley. This idea is reinforced by ancient texts and myths from around the world. Sumerian king lists, Egyptian chronicles, and indigenous oral traditions all speak of vast periods of forgotten history. They tell stories of great floods and celestial catastrophes that destroyed an earlier world. While these are often dismissed as myths, the stunning consistency of these stories across cultures separated by entire oceans is hard to ignore. It feels like a shared primal memory of a real cataclysmic event. The case for a pre-Egyptian civilization becomes even stronger when we look at the sophistication of their spiritual and cosmological ideas. The pyramid texts, some of the oldest religious writings on Earth, contain incredibly complex metaphysical concepts about the soul, the afterlife, and the cosmos. Their detailed references to specific stars and constellations suggest a long, deep tradition of skywatching. The layout of Egypt's earliest temples reflects this, with many structures aligned perfectly to solstices, equinoxes, and the rising of stars like Sirius. This level of astronomical precision is far too advanced for a civilization that was supposedly just getting started. It's more likely they inherited this sacred science from an older culture that was tragically lost. Even modern genetics hints at this story, showing unusual migration patterns into the Nile Valley during the prehistoric era. These could represent the remnants of a great people seeking refuge after their homeland was destroyed. And with today's technology, satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar, we are starting to find what might be their buried ruins. Scientists are discovering unknown structures hidden beneath the desert sands of Egypt and North Africa, some appearing far older than the dynastic period. These sites could be the key to unlocking a lost chapter of human history. While mainstream academia remains cautious, the evidence is accumulating. When you bring together the clues from geology, archaeology, mythology, and astronomy, a new picture begins to form. Ancient Egypt may not have been the dawn of civilization, but rather its last brilliant echo. The true origins of its incredible knowledge may lie buried with a prehistoric superpower, erased by time and catastrophe. The question is no longer if such a civilization existed, but how much of its legacy is still waiting, right now, to be rediscovered. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join us on our next exploration.